Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and we're again joined by Derek Bidner to discuss the latest addition to the Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS roster, Lucario. So let's get started. Alright Derek, so after a pretty fruitful week of Smash Bros. Updates, which we haven't even had time to cover yet, which we'll do very soon though, they announced that Lucario is coming back in Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. Which is something, well first off, I didn't expect another character to be confirmed so soon. Secondly, I didn't expect it to be Lucario. So, I remember the first thing you IM'd me last night when this came up was that, well, that's a controversial choice.
that was my, as soon as I saw him, that was my first thought was, oh, people are going to be pissed.
so let's get your take on this. What is your impression of Lucario being here?
Basically, the common idea here is that because Lucario is confirmed, there's a lot less of a chance that Mewtwo could also be confirmed, which is something that people really want back. People love Mewtwo in Melee. Mewtwo is a lot more iconic than Lucario is, and I think that's why people want him instead. And that was the first thing that went through my head as soon as I saw this. It's like, the people who really want Mewtwo are going to take this as a really bad sign.
Right.
But there are people who like Lucario out there. I liked him just fine. I will honestly say that I preferred Mewtwo over him, but I wasn't a huge fan of Mewtwo either. It just, his style didn't fit the way Mewtwo and Lucario play never really matched my style, so I enjoyed them on occasion, but they were never my mains.
Right.
It's not a bad thing to have Lucario. The design is still very striking, and I think still works, and I think he's, especially with X and Y coming out and him getting a Mega Evolution, and him having actually a more sizable role than the typical Pokemon has in the story of X and Y, it does make sense to have him in here.
Yeah, but I never played X and Y, but that's what I'd heard, that he's more relevant really than ever, with X and Y having come out so recently.
Yes, because he serves as the first Mega Evolution that you get.
Right, so that's kind of a big deal. So it does make sense for him to be here. So my take actually is pretty similar to yours. Like, I wasn't a huge Mewtwo fan, and I definitely wasn't a Lucario fan. I think part of that is just because I knew Mewtwo from my time with Pokemon, Red and Blue back in the day. Whereas Lucario, I haven't played really any of the new Pokemon games as we've talked about. And by new, I mean any of the ones since Red and Blue. So Lucario didn't do anything for me. So you take my already indifference to Mewtwo and add to it a character I don't know anything about. I just don't care about him at all. So with that said, I would have hoped that Mewtwo would come back. Instead of Lucario, but it's not that big of a deal to me because I didn't really use either. Yeah. But for me though, just because Lucario or Mewtwo does have more of a history for me personally, as I imagine it does for at least some Smash players, it's a little bit disappointing in that sense. But with that said, it doesn't necessarily mean that Mewtwo's not going to come back. Who knows? It's we already have characters that are similar, that are, in previous games that have come back, like, Ness coming back despite, Lucas.
Oh, Lucas, yeah.
Yeah, and, so this could be a very similar case, especially because they actually do play, quite differently aside from their main energy attack, which actually is also pretty different in and of itself, despite some superficial similarities. So, yeah, I mean, I do think, my gut reaction is that, there's a stronger chance of indicating Mewtwo might not be back, but don't think it confirms it.
No, I think that right now my gut is telling me there's typically 4 slots per franchise, Mario accepting. And with Brawl, we had Pikachu, Jigglypuff, Lucario, and the Pokemon Trainer.
Right.
So if Mewtwo were to come back, who is the more likely one to get the axe? The Pokemon Trainer or Jigglypuff? My gut would tell me that the Pokemon Trainer would probably be the one to get the axe.
Really, I can't see that being the case just because of how unique his playstyle was.
It was very unique, but Jigglypuff is also very unique. That's the thing.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think they'll cut Jigglypuff. I mean, my gut reaction would be that they would just increase the roster by 1 for Pokemon as opposed to dropping any of them, because they're also iconic. There's no way I don't think they'll get rid of Jigglypuff, especially because he's an original character, and so far they've never dropped an original character. So I could see them increasing it, especially for a franchise, you know, giving them 5 characters, especially for a franchise as big as Pokemon. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if there's one franchise that stands up to Mario as far as popularity, it's definitely Pokemon.
Exactly.
So it makes sense to have that many more characters for them. So who knows? Maybe we could see 5 characters for Pokemon, and I wouldn't exactly be against it. But it's with the whole roster announcements. Every time you hear a new character about, you know, one old character returning, you got to wonder, is this other old character not going to return now?
Yep. Well, I guess you're definitely right. I guess the biggest possible disappointment about this is even if they do, you know, even if they bring back all the Pokemon characters in this, and you know, Lucario, does that mean? I mean, it does seem more unlikely that there may not be an all new Pokemon character this time. You know, like I don't know what else. You know, I mean, that'll be a ton of Pokemon characters if they bring them all back, or even if they drop Mewtwo. I mean, if they drop Mewtwo, maybe they'll add another 5th original character. I don't know.
I don't know. You know, I'm not super into the Pokemon scene for X and Y right now. I don't, but nothing from my playtime with it and me, you know, playing the game quite a lot when it's during its launch. There's not really any X and Y Pokemon that stands out as that defining one.
Yeah, but keep in mind, you know, Smash Brothers always lags behind, so they're probably basing it off Black and White Pokemon. Even
then, there's not a whole lot of Black and White Pokemon that stands out. The thing that stands out about the Pokemon for this generation would be the Mega Evolutions.
Right. So let's get into that. And by getting into that, I mean we'll eventually get to that. Because looking at these screenshots, he seems extremely similar to his appearance in Brawl. We can see a couple different pictures show off his standard triple attack. You know, if you just sit there and press A few times. Yeah. We see his down smash. We see his recovery's back. We see a taunt, at least one taunt. That's definitely back. And of course, we see his energy ball attack or his Aurora ability or whatever. Aura
sphere, yeah. And his double team counter move is also back. We see.
Glad you mentioned that. That's right. So everything we've seen appears to be from before, except for maybe the one where he's sitting under a tree. But I think that's just him getting knocked out or something, or being hit from damage.
Probably.
Yeah. So far, there's nothing new here. So I'm wondering, could they be hiding something? Like, what if they took a page out of, say, either Samus's book or even like Zelda's and Sheik's book, where at some point Lucario can transform into his Mega Evolution form. You know, in fact, it would go off what Sakurai said in today's update, where he mentions we've increased the influence of Aura this time, so a damaged Lucario is truly a force to be reckoned with. What if that's actually tied to his Mega Evolution? Like, what if he takes enough damage, he can actually Mega Evolve, and and he remains in that form until he runs until he's KO'd.
That's very interesting to see. As soon as I thought of Mega Evolutions, my first thought was Smash Ball.
Right.
And Final Smash type thing.
Which also makes sense.
Temporary. It still definitely makes sense, but yours still works. And that's not how Mega Evolution works in the game proper, but of course you don't have a trainer here to connect with them and give them the stone and all that, so that's not really right. Possible to begin with. We're just going off the fact that this is a pure fighting game. But that would be a very interesting way to handle it, and once again do what Sakurai said, and definitely increased the risk-reward system of his Aura abilities. Basically, the more damage he has, the more damage he puts out.
Yeah, because I will say, no, granted, I wasn't a huge Lucario player. I mean, I played with everyone in Brawl, but Lucario's probably on the lesser end of the characters I played with. But when I did play with him, even though his damage, his power increased as his damage went up. However, I never really noticed a big of a difference. Like I never felt like, having a high amount of percent was ever worthwhile. I always felt like it was by far a bigger detriment than the seemingly minimal, strength gains he gained.
You could see it visually getting more powerful. I mean,
Right.
there's a ton of comparisons out there showing him at 0% launching his Aura Sphere and then being at like 100 or 150% launching it.
bigger.
And there's definitely a size difference there.
Right.
But feeling it in the middle of battle, I didn't quite notice it as much as I felt I should. So maybe that's something Sakurai is also trying to improve.
Yeah, and if they go with the Mega Evolution route, then that would make complete sense. Where, I guess at that point it'll be more of a binary switch. Where I think I ramped up pretty linearly in Brawl. I'm only going from memory. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I seem to remember it being pretty linear. So maybe in this case, maybe it would still maintain some of that linear focus until he reaches a Mega Evolution point, at which point he then becomes like even more noticeably more powerful.
Yeah.
And that, I guess that might be where they cap it too. And I think that'd be a really cool idea. It's something they haven't done before I guess the closest thing is of course Lucario before. But actually having him transform forms based on the amount of damage he's taken, I think would be a really interesting gameplay mechanic.
Yeah, definitely. I never even thought of that, but hearing you say it, it does make me want to see them try to take that route. I don't know how it would be balanced or anything like that. I'm just going off pure speculation. But as just pure speculation, I think it sounds great.
Yeah. I'd be very curious to see that. It might actually make me interested in playing Lucario. So what do you think of his general appearance here? Again, it seems pretty similar to Brawl. A little bit on the brighter side. Again, they're going with, a more, I guess, closer to the game's representation as opposed to giving them all, like, a realistic filter like Brawl did.
Yeah.
So what do you think of his looks here?
I think he looks great. This is... Lucario was always a little dull to me in Brawl because you can't really see his mouth, you can't really get a sense of what he's doing. But looking at these screens, two things come across my mind. One, he looks adorable. that first screen where he's sort of charging up for an attack on the Smash website, I think he looks adorable there, just like a little puppy.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that once again with Sakurai trying to get more emotions out there, his whole teetering on the edge while DDD charges up is also, kind of humorous. You don't really see Lucario with his eyes wide worried like that too often in the games or in other media or anything. It seems like they are once again trying to give him a bit more personality, which makes me a little bit more endearing makes him a little bit more endearing to me.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. We've talked about it before, day-to-day, or DDD. I keep going back to the Japanese pronunciation. Jesus. I think just adding... They've already done a great job before, giving this character's personality, and it seems like they're going even further this time around, which I think is great. So I think Lucario looks decent too. Again, I never played with him in the Pokemon game, so I don't know how accurate his representation is here, but it seems... He definitely does seem, I would say, you're right. He seems more defined to put it here than he did in Brawl. His details are easier to see. So I think it looks good. So do you think you'll look forward to playing as them potentially in this new game, or?
Oh, certainly. I like to try out all the different characters, see how they match up, see how they feel. Just see if they're a good match for each size. I try to find out which ones I want to actually play as for real, but. No, Lucario seems like a, pretty decent choice. I don't know, it'd be interesting to see if there's any more changes to him, if at all, and basically see if he'll match my playstyle.
Yeah, that's really the question. Because, yeah, he didn't quite match my playstyle before, and he does seem so similar so far, and that's been the case for most of the returning characters. So I'm still hoping that they switch it up. And Sakurai does keep saying, although he hasn't said it super recently, but that the movesets for the returning characters may not be final. And I'm really hoping that's the case, because I would like them to see them switch it up. And in the case of Lucario, they do go with that Mega Evolution idea. That would be enough. That would do it. If they don't go with that idea, I think he might be. He might be a disappointment again, or for me, just because his playstyle doesn't match, and I didn't find it to be terribly interesting before. So I think if they do his his Mega Evolution thing as a Final Smash, I won't care about it. Final Smashes are fun. I play with, but I often just don't even have them on too. When I play Smash, like they're cool at first, but they're so imbalanced in Brawl that we ended up just turning them off most of the time. So I think that would be a waste of potential. Assuming they even run with Mega Evolution idea at all.
Yeah.
Because that is from a relatively recent game, and we've long seen how that they often aren't able to incorporate those elements into the latest Smash Brothers game. True,
but I have a feeling that Mega Evolutions were so big and they've been talking about it for so long that
that's true.
I think it's almost an inevitability that his Mega Evolution will be in this game in one form or another.
Yep, I think you're right. So do you have any final thoughts or anything we haven't mentioned yet, Derek, on Lucario?
No, I think he just looks like a pretty solid character. Interested to try him out once again, see how he's changed, see how he's evolved. Pun intended.
I'm laughing way too hard at that.
Yeah, well, you like your puns, but no, it's just true. Once again, just wait and see. It's interesting that he's in there. I know it's once again, I know he's a controversial choice, but we'll have to wait and see if other Pokemon get announced as well.
Yeah, that's really the question. If they're going to announce, whether they return to Mewtwo, as many people hope. And I kind of feel like just from how many people want him, he kind of has to be here. Mm-hmm. But conversely, I think a new Pokemon would be welcome. Really any brand new characters would be welcome for the most part. Mm-hmm. And because Mewtwo and Lucario, although they are very different, they also do seem kind of similar too. So I'd probably rather a brand new character if it had to be between one or the other. But at worst, we're just stuck with Lucario again, which isn't that big of a deal. It's fine. So, and I really do hope that they do something with that Mega Evolution idea, because I think that'd be awesome. Although I'm biased because I came up with it right now. So, all right, I think that wraps it up for our Lucario discussion. So thanks guys for watching. If you like this discussion, make sure to follow us and like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain.com for more on Smash Brothers Wii U and 3DS and other things gaming as well. Especially because we will have our weekly discussion going up. Should be tomorrow, Saturday, where we'll discuss the weekly screenshots, as well as a few more details from these screenshots of Lucario that we weren't able to get to in this discussion. So thanks guys for watching, and bye.